At 8 a.m. this morning, millions of Americans in Florida and Minnesota woke up to the same notification on their phones. Account suspended pending federal review. They didn't understand it at first. They thought it was a glitch, a server error at Chase or Wells Fargo. So they went about their morning. They went to the gas station to fill up for work. Card declined. They went to the grocery store to buy milk for their kids. Card declined. They panicked and ran to the nearest ATM to pull out cash. And the screen went black. Good morning, I am Jack Cross. The war has changed. The president has realized that he doesn't need tanks to crush a rebellion. He doesn't need to fire a single shot to bring a governor to his knees. He just needs to flip a switch. We have just received a copy of Executive Order 114-112, signed 20 minutes ago. It authorizes the US Treasury to restrict the flow of capital to any state currently in violation of federal law. This is what military strategists call a digital siege. The White House has effectively disconnected the banking systems of Florida and Minnesota from the Federal Reserve. The message from the president is brutal in its simplicity. If you do not recognize federal authority, you do not get to use federal currency. We are witnessing the weaponization of the US dollar against US citizens. This has never happened before in the history of our republic. During the first Civil War, the Confederacy printed its own money. But today, we live in a digital world. Our money is just ones and zeros on a server in Virginia. And the man sitting in the Oval Office controls that server. Let's break down exactly what this executive order does because the details are terrifying. It orders the Federal Reserve to suspend the routing numbers associated with banks chartered in the insurrectionist zones. This means if your bank account was opened at a branch in Miami or Minneapolis, you are frozen out. It doesn't matter if you are currently in New York or London, your money is trapped. But it gets worse. The order also freezes all federal disbursements to these states. Think about what that means. It means Social Security checks did not arrive this morning. It means federal pensions for veterans were not deposited. It means EBT cards, food stamps are showing a zero balance. We are not just talking about wealthy business owners losing access to their portfolios. We are talking about the most vulnerable people in society, the elderly, the poor, the veterans, being cut off from their lifeline instantly. By tonight, there will be millions of people who literally cannot buy food. This is a calculated move to cause mass civil unrest. The strategy is simple. Make the population so desperate, so hungry, and so angry that they turn against their own governors. The White House is betting that loyalty to state rights will evaporate when the refrigerator is empty. We are already seeing the chaos unfold. We have reports of fistfights breaking out at Walmart locations across Florida. People are fighting over baby formula and canned goods, but here is the problem. You can't buy them. The point-of-sale systems, the credit card machines, connect to the internet, and the internet service providers have been ordered to block financial traffic from these regions. Cash is now the only thing that matters. But how much cash do you have in your wallet right now? $40? $80? That might buy you a tank of gas today. But tomorrow, when the panic sets in, that gas will be $10 a gallon. $20 a gallon. We are watching hyperinflation happen in a localized bubble in real time. Let's look at the supply chain. This is the invisible disaster that nobody is talking about yet. I spoke to a trucking logistics manager in Atlanta 10 minutes ago. He told me that every major trucking company has issued a stop order for deliveries to Florida and Minnesota. Why? Because they can't get paid. If a truck driver delivers a load of produce to a supermarket in Tampa, the supermarket cannot transfer the funds to pay the trucking company. The electronic payment rails are broken, so the trucks are stopping, they are turning around. This means that within 48 hours, the grocery stores won't just be unable to sell food, they will have no food to sell. Florida relies on imports for almost everything. Without the trucks, the state starves. It is that simple. The governor of Florida knows this. That is why he has just declared martial law over the state's ports. He is trying to seize cargo ships that are already docked to confiscate the food before it rots. But the longshoremen are refusing to work. Why should they unload a ship if they aren't getting a paycheck? This is the cascading failure of a modern economy. When you remove the trust in money, the gears stop turning immediately. Now, let's talk about the counter move. The governors are not going down without a fight. We are hearing incredible reports from Tallahassee. The governor of Florida is drafting emergency legislation to create a state scrip, essentially an IOU issued by the state of Florida. He is calling on local businesses to accept these state IOUs as legal tender, promising that the state will back them with its gold reserves. It sounds like something out of a history book, but is it viable? Can you convince a frantic mother at a grocery store that a piece of paper signed by the governor is worth the same as a US dollar? Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, the situation is even more kinetic. Remember, the 11th Airborne is sitting at the airport. Now, they are the only ones with supplies. We are receiving reports that the Army is setting up humanitarian aid stations at the airport perimeter. They are offering food and water to civilians. But there is a catch. To receive the aid, you have to sign a loyalty oath to the federal government. This is psychological warfare at its peak. The president is starving the people with one hand and offering them a sandwich with the other, provided they renounce their governor. It is a hearts and minds campaign played out on American soil. The banking freeze also affects the police. The state troopers, the sheriff's deputies, they get paid via direct deposit. Today is payday for the Florida Highway Patrol, and the money isn't there. How long will a police officer stand on a bridge facing down the U.S. Army if his own family is at home with no electricity and no food? The White House is banking on the fact that every man has a price, and that price is survival. Let's zoom out and look at the international reaction. This is the part that should scare everyone, regardless of your politics. China and Russia are watching this with glee. For decades, the United States has used the dollar as a weapon against foreign regimes. Iran, Venezuela, North Korea, we sanctioned them. We cut them off from SWIFT. But now we are doing it to ourselves. We are sanctioning Florida. We are sanctioning Minnesota. The world is watching the issuer of the global reserve currency declare that its own currency is no longer safe for its own citizens. The damage to the US dollar's reputation is permanent. Who will want to hold US Treasury bonds if they know the president can cancel them if you vote the wrong way? This executive order might win the battle for Mar-a-Lago, but it could lose the war for the American economy. Wall Street knows this. The markets are in freefall. The Dow is down 3,000 points. Investors are fleeing to crypto, to gold, to anything that the government cannot touch. And that brings us to the crypto angle. The rebel states are openly embracing Bitcoin. The governor of Florida just tweeted a wallet address asking for international aid in cryptocurrency. He is trying to bypass the US banking system entirely. We are seeing a parallel economy emerging, a black market economy sanctioned by the state government. Imagine a world where you buy your groceries with Bitcoin protected by state troopers while federal drones fly overhead. That is not science fiction. That is Florida today. The legal experts are screaming that this executive order is unconstitutional. The Fifth Amendment says the government cannot seize property without due process. Freezing a bank account is a seizure, and doing it to millions of people at once without a trial is a violation of the highest order. But here's the hard truth. The Constitution is only a piece of paper if there is no one to enforce it. The Supreme Court is the only body that can stop this, and they are still silent. Why? Because if they rule against the president and he ignores them, then the court loses all its power. They are afraid of being exposed as irrelevant, so they watch. And they wait. As night falls, the tension is shifting from the borders to the neighborhoods. When people are hungry, they get desperate. We are expecting a wave of looting tonight. Not political looting, survival looting. Pharmacies, grocery stores, hardware stores, and with the police force unpaid and demoralized, who is going to stop them? The governors are likely to activate neighborhood watch groups, deputizing citizens to protect their communities. This puts more guns on the street in the hands of untrained, angry, and frightened civilians. It is a recipe for disaster. So, what is the end game here? The president has given the governors a deadline, 48 hours. If they do not surrender, if they do not hand over the fugitives and stand down the National Guard, the banking freeze becomes permanent. The assets will be seized and redistributed to the loyalty fund. This is an ultimatum: surrender or starve. For those of you listening in the affected zones, keep your receipts. Document everything. Band together with your neighbors. You are going to need community more than you need cash in the next few days. Barter is coming back. Skills are coming back. If you can fix a generator, if you can purify water, you are now the richest person on your block. For the rest of the country, do not think you are safe. If this executive order stands, if the president can turn off the money for Florida, he can turn it off for California. He can turn it off for Texas. He can turn it off for you. The precedent has been set. The digital leash is around our necks, and today, for the first time, he pulled it tight. The sun is setting on a very different America than the one we knew yesterday. The bridges are blocked, the runways are seized, and now the vaults are locked. I'm Jack Cross. Hold on to your cash and pray for the country. I'll see you on the other side.